My story, victory over binge eating. Hey there, do you struggle with emotional eating? Are you afraid your eating has become problematic? Do you wish you could break free? Hey there, my name is Diana Lopez, and I am your bariatric dietitian at My Bariatric Adventure, the place where we guide you as you navigate the twists and turns of your bariatric adventure. Today, I just wanted to share my story, my struggles with emotional eating, and how I was finally able to break free. And if you hang around until after I tell my story, I've got some strategies to help you begin your road to success. And at the very, very end, I've got a freebie to help you out with the very first step. All right, so let's get started. Let me tell you my story. So truly it began when I was a teenager. I was really preoccupied with my appearance. I wanted a flat stomach. I can still remember those days of doing buns of steel, using a thigh master as I watched TV. I don't know, maybe I'm a little older than you, but do you remember that? Maybe your mom did it. I don't know, but I did. And then I think, continuing through college and into high school, I was constantly watching what I was eating. I didn't want to get fat. I was actually going to school to become a dietitian to study nutrition to help myself to stay thin. So that desire for thinness is what led me to study nutrition. And in college, I started to realize I was having trouble coping with my emotions and maybe running to food a little bit for that. And I remember one particular incident. I was getting ready for an exam and I ran through a drive-through. I got more than I would normally eat. I kind of wolfed it down and I had a calm and a peace. And I think something clicked in my mind that I realized I could use food to help slow down the anxious thoughts I was having. And for me, I think that was really the beginning of using food to cope with that. And as a budding dietitian, I was really ashamed of my choices. So when I was out with other people, I could hide it pretty well. And that kind of went on for many, many years. I struggled with that for a long time. I was eating emotionally and I was also dieting at the same time. So I would be good all week long. And then I'd let loose on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then it would just get harder and harder to control that behavior. And I was more and more using food to cope with those difficult emotions. And I got married to a lovely, kind, and gentle man. And I had never been married before. He had been married before. He had 2 small children. He also had a traumatic brain injury in 2001. And so I was just trying to figure out what marriage looked like for us. And I was really struggling with that. At first, I didn't know what our life was going to look like together. I had lots of fears and anxieties about our new life together. And during our engagement and early marriage, I often turned to food as a comfort to help me just deal with my emotions. And from our engagement to our wedding day, I gained 25 pounds. And you know what? What bride wants that? But I just couldn't seem to control my emotions and my eatings. And as we were figuring out married life together, I would a lot of times have anxious thoughts about how life would be for us. So my husband would go to bed at night, and while he was sleeping, I'd eat half a box of his sugary cereal, and he'd come down in the morning and say, "Hey, what happened to my cereal?" And I would be like, What are you talking about? I have no idea. And I went on like that for quite a long time. I would say at least 10 years, really struggling to control my eating habits, trying to diet at the same time, being filled with guilt and shame, not understanding why I couldn't stop. Maybe you've been there as well. I tried everything I could think of on my own and nothing worked. And then finally, one day I realized I was getting these daily devotionals from a group that worked with women who struggled with disordered eating. And I gathered up my courage, I applied for the program, I got in, and then I spent a year in virtual outpatient treatment with other women that were like me. They struggled in the same ways. We met every week, we talked about our struggles, we had homework we had to do. Throughout the week, we would message and encourage each other and talk about our struggles. And for me, that was the missing piece. I was so ashamed of my behavior. After all, I'm a dietitian. If anybody knows how to eat right, that would be me. My clients tell me the same thing all of the time. I know how to eat. I just can't seem to do it. And that was me. It was so problematic for me. And I didn't want to teach people how to be disordered in their eating habits the way that I was. So I want to just share the things that helped me the most. Number one was accountability to my group. I had that group of people around me. We can't grow in isolation. I tried that for a long time. It didn't work. Tip number two, I would say for you, is to begin to be aware of what you're doing. I had to think about what I was thinking about, taking those negative thoughts captive and thinking about the bad things I was telling myself about myself. And then I could begin to not stuff down my emotions with food anymore. It became easier to push eating out of my life as a way to cope. But as I did that also, I had to talk to a counselor. When I stopped numbing my emotions with eating, my emotions went crazy. I remember a friend came to me and just asked me how I was doing, and I just burst into tears because I had all these emotions that were bubbling up to the surface and I didn't know what to do with them. Another thing I did is I would sit in my discomfort and try to figure out what emotion I was feeling, because for so long I was disconnected from my emotions and I needed to understand that. That's where a counselor and journaling really, really was helpful. Another thing that was helpful was creativity. I remember on this journey, there was a psychologist. She explained how being creative can help rewire the two hemispheres of our brain. And so I jumped into that. I started gardening, I started painting, I refinishing furniture. Some things I did great and some things just were not my thing. But it helped. It helped me. It helped my mind. It helped my brain. The other thing I did is I started building relationships. I live in Florida. Many of my friends, I have friends, and then for some reason they move away. And at this point in life, I had a very small, almost non-existent friendship circle. And so I had to work to rebuild those close friends, those people that I could trust with my vulnerability, with my weaknesses, that they wouldn't judge me and they would encourage me. And the last thing that helped me was accountability. Through my group, I met a friend. I live in Florida. She lives in Canada. We Zoom twice a month and we talk. We pray for each other. We encourage each other. She makes me laugh. I make her laugh. It makes life easier because I know I can come to her with my struggles. So, hey, thank you so much for hanging out with my video. And I want to tell you, if you're interested in the program that I went to, it's called findingbalance.com. Findingbalance.com. Great place to go to get started. I hope my story has encouraged you today. And before I go, I've got a freebie for you. So it's emotional eating, the 10 questions to ask yourself. So go down in the description below and grab that and get started on those first steps today. All right, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.